Namaste. Welcome to Yin and Restorative Yoga. My name is Michelle Chua. For this practice, you'll want to have quite a few props like 2 blocks, a strap, a bolster, which is a pillow, and a blanket, and any other additional props you might have around. The more options you'll have. So start in any comfortable way to sit. You might prop your pelvis up on any of your props if it feels uncomfortable to sit tall, or the hip flexors feel tight at all. Take a moment to mentally arrive, letting go of whatever you were just attending to before now, and really making the commitment for your conscious self-care in the next hour and 5 minutes or so. I want to begin with a couple of quotes from one of my first teachers of mindfulness and meditation, not in person, but through literature. His name is Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche. Meditation is simply training our state of being so that our mind and body can be synchronized. Through the practice of meditation, we can learn to be without deception, to be fully genuine and alive. He also said, our life is an endless journey. The practice of meditation allows us to experience all the textures of the roadway, which is what the journey is all about. It's a reminder of the bigger picture of yoga, remembering that yoga itself includes 8 limbs, and the physical poses, which are called asanas, is the 3rd limb of the 8 limbs of yoga. Meditation is an integral part as we advance through the practice in the later limbs. I'll go quickly through the 8 limbs of yoga. The first is the yamas, which is 5 practices in how we live in harmony with the outside world, the world around us. And the second is the niyamas, which are 5 spiritual practices, which allows us to connect with our inner being, taking care of our inner world. Now, the 3rd limb of yoga is the asanas, the physical body, helping to release whatever we've accumulated, tensions and things, dis-ease, so that energy can flow in balance and we can sit in meditation and tune inward. The 4th limb is what's often called the bridge between our inner and outer world, the mind and the body, which is breath, pranayama, skillful breathing techniques that help us to consciously regulate our energy. The 5th limb is pratyahara, which is tuning our attention inward, letting go of attending to outside stimuli. The 6th limb is dhyana, which means concentration. It's practicing steadying our focus on one thing for a sustained period of time, which again is a practice. The attention wanders, we come back to our anchor like we do in the beginning of meditation. And when we've practiced this quite a bit for a long duration, we might have steady awareness for longer periods of time with less effort, and that brings us into the state of meditation, which is the 7th limb of yoga. It's called dhyana. And the 8th limb of yoga, which is samadhi, is something you can't strive for. We can practice all the other 7 limbs to set up the conditions to welcome samadhi, which is the blissful union with life itself. It's the dissolving of the delusion of separation between you and me, between you and the world around you. And you might have glimpses of samadhi when you are doing something that you just really love, that it takes no effort for you to be truly engaged in the present moment. And so with that, there's just a bigger picture of what the physical practice, how it fits in to the overall daily practice of yoga. Let's begin by checking in. So as you're sitting tall, comfortably and alert, you might close your eyes. Begin with your physical body, noticing any sensations that you're experiencing. Cultivate a friendly attitude of non-judgment as you're observing. Notice the quality of your breathing. Just let it be as it is. Through the breath, observe your energy. Notice where you're starting from in that sense. And then bring your attention to your emotional heart. What's present there? What have you been attending to in your mind? And what is the quality of your attention in this moment? Now begin to deepen the breath, inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your lips. Inhaling a little deeper. And exhaling just as slowly. And the next breath, you might play with holding it in at the very top and just feeling that reference point of a full breath. And then holding it out at the very bottom and feeling the contrast of completely emptying the breath. Now I invite you to think of something in this moment that you appreciate, anything you feel gratitude for. Shifting through the lens of gratitude enables us to remember our connection to abundance. So with that empowerment, now set your intention for this practice. What are you inviting into your experience? As a way to broaden our lens, I also invite you to choose somebody to dedicate today's practice to. A way of sending loving kindness to someone else beyond our individual selves. And let's set our intentions and dedications together while creating a resonant space to share practice in by chanting Om 3 times. Inhale a little deeper. So let's begin a pranayama practice that will bring us into our physical postures. It's called Ujjayi pranayama, which means victorious breathing. It's a breathing technique that allows you to invite calm, balance, and focus. It's done by closing your lips, softly constricting or gently narrowing the back of your throat, and creating a gentle whispering sound as you slow the breath down, inhaling and exhaling evenly through the nose. Find the feeling of fullness and emptiness, those reference points that you established earlier. Listen to a couple of cycles of that breathing technique as you're still here now, because we're going to move to that breath pace shortly. Use the sound of your breathing as an anchor for your mind. If your attention wanders out of the present moment, Come back to the sound of the breath. Come back to regulating the breath. So keeping that going, we're going to start with some gentle movements before we hold our yin and restorative postures and deep stretch. So let's come down onto our backs. I'm going to turn on the music here. Lying on your back, bend your knees together into your chest. We began our focus of this week with bringing the hips into flexion, which involves forward folds. So let's prepare the area of the hip flexors, the lower back and hamstrings. So take hold of your bent knees with your hands, relax your head and shoulders on the ground, and start to circle the thighs apart, breathing in. So treat it like a vinyasa flow, which means breath-led movement. Exhale as you draw the knees together, so that by moving really slowly, you can really tune into what you're feeling around your inner thighs, your groins, all around the pelvis. And then switch directions. Let's splay the thighs apart into happy baby. Raise the soles of your feet parallel to each other and bring the arms between your thighs. With your hands, hold your outer feet or your ankles and draw your tailbone, head and shoulders into the ground as you bring the knees wider outside of your shoulders. You could also rock gently side to side to massage your lower back. Happy baby pose. Then bend your right knee into your chest and straighten the left leg to the floor. As you're hugging the right thigh or shin with both hands, keep resting your head and shoulders on the ground and start to circle your right foot. Again, like a vinyasa flow, inhaling and exhaling. Then switch directions. Notice any sensations around your right hamstring, the front of your left hip here. And then let's switch sides. Slide the right leg forward, bend the left knee towards you, holding your left thigh or shin. Circle your left foot a few times in both directions. So the energy of a yin and restorative class is quite different from a vinyasa flow class. Yin is more of the lunar, often called the feminine type of energy, slowing down, introspective, lots of stillness and tuning inward. And then bend both knees into your chest and begin to rock and roll forward and back several times, massaging up and down the spine. Can you still hear your breathing? A couple more times. Next time you rock forward, sit up and bring your hands to the front of your mat, stack your shoulders over your wrists, and step your knees a couple inches behind your hips, preparing for Bitalasana, cat-cow pose. Let's warm up the spine, shoulders. Inhale, glide your chest forward, roll your shoulders behind you, and look up, cow pose. Exhale, contract your abdomen, drop your head, and round your back, cat pose. Again, inhale, glide the chest forward, coiling it up. Exhale, lift the navel, drop the head to dome your back. Keep going on your own, about 3 more cycles of breath. Let the breath initiate and culminate each movement. spreading your thumbs flat towards each other. Stretch the index fingers forward so they're either parallel to each other, or if you've got any tightness in the fronts of the shoulders, slightly turn out your hands. With your feet hips width apart, tuck your toes. At the end of your next exhalation, lift your hips high and back. Press your chest towards your shins, entering downward facing dog. Let's start to pedal the feet gently in place. As you bend one knee, press the opposite heel into the ground, straightening that leg. And then slowly to the other side, several times. Warming up the backs of your legs. Downward facing dog is also a version of a forward fold. Notice how the back of your body feels here right now, like your lower back, hamstrings, calves. Let your head hang loose. Maybe shake your head no a few times. Nod your head yes a few times. While your hands press into the ground, lift your shoulders back. Create space along your neck. Couple more deep breaths in Adho Mukha Svanasana. Let's enter some more movements to warm up the area of the hip flexors and hamstrings. Inhale, raise your right leg behind you. As you exhale, bend your right knee and turn out your right thigh at the hip. Press through the hands and inhale, tack your left outer hip back. As you exhale, gently step your right foot forward beside your right thumb. Lower your left knee into a kneeling lunge. Now, you may like to have a block under each hand, adjusting the height of the block so that you're able to relax the shoulders down, lift your chest, and gaze up, breathing comfortably. Tuck your left toes and see that your legs are as wide apart as your hips. Your front knee is bending directly above the heel, but not in front of the heel like this. Hands are close to your sides. Inhale, let your pelvis sink as you look up. Keep your feet where they are. Exhale, lift your left knee and begin to straighten your legs just gently so they don't have to straighten all the way, or you can bow forward with a feeling of a flat back. You're not rounding the back. Inhale, lower the left knee again. Look up, kneeling lunge. Exhale, straightening the legs, draw the right hip back, extend your chest forward as you fold. Let's keep going. 3 more cycles of breath in this flow. Inhale, kneeling lunge. Exhale, pyramid pose. Inhale, kneeling lunge. Exhale, pyramid pose. Inhale and exhale. Lower your back knee and step your right knee behind you. Let's come back to downward facing duck. Pausing there as you lift your hips high, firm the fronts of your thighs back. Let your heels sink deeper and deeper towards the ground. Know that you can bend your knees any amount that allows you to lengthen your spine with a feeling of a flat back. Tune into 2 more deep breaths here, steadying your gaze on one spot. As you root down through your fingers spread, inhale, raise your left leg behind you. Exhale, bend your left knee and externally rotate the thigh bone at the hip. Turn it out. Inhale, tack your right outer hip back. As you exhale, softly step your left foot forward beside your left thumb. Lower your right knee, coming into a kneeling lunge. And then once again, you might have a block under each hand. Adjust the height of the blocks as you need. Separate your legs hips distance and tuck the right toes. See that your left knee is bending just above the heel, but not in front of the heel like this. As you inhale, let your pelvis sink, gaze up. Keep your feet where they are, and as you exhale, lift your right knee, draw your left thigh bone back into the hip socket towards straightening your legs while you bow from your hips. Create the feeling of a flat back. Inhale, lower the right knee and lunge. Exhale, lift the right knee, pyramid pose. Let's keep going. 3 more cycles of breath. Inhale, lunge. Exhale, pyramid. Inhale, lunge. Exhale, pyramid. Inhale, lunge. And exhale, pyramid. Once again, lower the back knee and step into downward facing dog, letting your body be still for 3 long breaths. Letting the stillness cultivate the practice of dharana, concentration. When you hear the very bottom of your 3rd exhalation, then walk to the front of your mat into a standing forward fold, separating your feet at least your hips width apart. Parallel your feet and bend your knees generously, so much that your belly easily rests on your thighs. Then tilt your weight as far forward as you can balance. Let your head go. With your hands, catch hold of opposite elbows, framing the head, and gently start to rock side to side, swaying the spine like a soft pendulum. Listen to a few cycles of breath here. Inviting the muscles along the spine to relax as you let your skull just hang loose, softening the neck, relax your jaw. Lift your shoulder bones away from the neck and open up more space in your cervical spine. Maybe switch the cross of the arm on top. A few more cycles of breath. Now forward folds, as you might be feeling, are cooling postures. They invite that lunar yin quality. They also invite more introspection as we're literally turning our face inward. We're folding into ourselves. Place your fingertips either on your shins or blocks at the height you need in front of your feet, or the ground. Press into that and inhale to stretch your spine forward like a tabletop. Engage the belly slightly and draw the shoulder blades back. Exhale, keep leaning forward and hinge from the hips. Let's flow through the breath again. Press with your hands and inhale, lengthen the top of your head towards your front wall. This is called half forward fold or Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. One more time, inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Use your hands to press down so that you can create traction as you elongate the spine. Exhale, Uttanasana. This time, keep a little bend in the knees, press down through your feet, firm in the belly. And as you inhale, sweep the arms forward, rising to stand. Raise your arms overhead, drop the shoulders behind you, and gently coil your chest up in Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, join your hands from your crown down to your heart center, Padasana. Let's flow through 3 rounds of Ardha Surya Namaskar, half sun salutations. A little more movement to warm up the whole body. Inhale, sweep the arms forward and gently coil your chest up. Feel free to bend your knees if that allows more ease as you exhale to fold from your hips. Press down with your hands and inhale, lengthen your spine into a half forward fold. Exhale, forward fold. Press down with your feet. Inhale, rise, coiling the chest up in Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, trace your palms in prayer from your crown to your heart center. Twice more. Inhale, sweep the arms up, gaze up. Exhale, fold from your hips. Inhale, press with your fingertips, lengthen forward. Exhale, fold over your legs. Inhale, root down to rise. Exhale, marry your palms at your heart center. Last time. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana, all the way up. Exhale, Padasana, hands in prayer. Maybe resting a hand on your chest at your heart center and a hand at your lower belly. Pause for 3 breaths and just notice what you're feeling in your body right now. Listen to the sound waves of your Ujjayi breathing. And let's try to face the wide width of your mat so that you can step the feet wide apart, almost as wide apart as you can splay the hands apart. Parallel your feet to each other, make sure they're not even slightly turning outwards. And bring the hands behind your back to clasp. Now, when you do that, check to see how far away you can reach the hands from the lower back. If there's not much distance, if it's less than a foot away, then you might find it helpful to hold a strap like this in between your hands, spacing your hands apart as you need so that you can get a longer range of motion. We're going to use that to open the front of the shoulders in our wide-legged forward fold. So breathe in, roll the shoulders down, look up and lift your chest. Breathe out, hinge from your hips and shift your weight as far forward as you can, aligning your pelvis with your ankles so the pelvis is not behind the ankles. Know that you can bend your knees as much as needed so that as you bow, you're not rounding the back and tensing the shoulders. Instead, as you're raising the arms forward, you're able to lift the shoulders and create even more space in your neck for the breath. Let your head hang freely. If it's not touching the ground, you could shake the head a few times. If your jaw is tense at all, you could flutter your lips a few times. Maybe experiment with switching the cross of your thumb and index finger on top. As we stay for about 3 more breaths here in Prasarita Padottanasana, wide-legged forward fold. Forward folds also help to stimulate circulation as well as digestion. Lower your fingertips to the ground. If the ground's too low to reach, you can also place your hands on your blocks. Lift your spine forward, lengthening it parallel to the floor. Draw the shoulder blades back and lengthen the top of your head forward, shifting your weight towards the front of your heels. Just breathing here in your half forward fold. Begin to walk your hands to the front of your mat and pivot to face the front of your mat into a lunge. Stepping back to hands and knees, all fours. So we're gonna help to open up the back body a bit, as well as the hips, coming into single pigeon pose. You may wanna have blocks, pillows, and blankets within arm's reach around the front of your mat. Then set up in tabletop again. From your right hip socket, rotate your right thigh bone externally, which means turn it out, and then slide your right shin across your mat in front of your pelvis. Lower to sit with your left leg straight behind you and your left toes tucked. Place your hands alongside your hips and lift your pelvis off the ground, drawing your right hip back. Rotate your left outer hip forward. Do so enough so that your right knee is not pointing at the front of your mat. It's pointing to your right wall. Now, if your right glute is spaced away from the ground, It's not touching the ground. Use any of your props, like your folded blanket, to fill that gap so that you can relax with the hips squared. Then relax your left toes. Place your hands in front of your right shin. And as you breathe in, stretch the front of your torso, look up. Now, breath by breath, begin to bow forward. Now, here's where you might set up your props. You could use one block to rest your forehead on, adjusting the height of it like this. You could grab your pillow and make an incline to bear hug that pillow, having a block underneath the furthest end of the pillow so the incline lowers towards you. And then maybe set up a blanket for underneath your forehead. So get creative with your props so that you're able to relax your body into the posture, even though there may be some discomfort as you're opening up parts of the body that might feel tight. But we're never looking for pain. If you start to feel pain of any kind, back off gently and find the extent of the pose to enter in which you're not feeling pain. Make any last little adjustments before we hold still on this side for 2 more minutes. You might close the eyes and listen to the sound waves of your Ujjayi breath. Now that we're in a restorative posture, allow each exhalation to invite different parts of your body to soften and relax. Listen to a couple of last breaths where you are before you start moving out. And as you're ready, press your hands into the floor and begin to slowly lift your skull, your chest. You might leave the props as they are for the second side as you step back into tabletop, hands and knees. Maybe raising the right leg behind you and just giving your right leg some gentle movement at the hip. Inviting blood flow into that region. Deep breaths. Straighten your right leg behind you and tuck the toes on the floor. And just take a moment as you're slightly lifting the belly to support the lower back. Lengthen the neck, gaze on the ground ahead of the thumbs, and gently glide back, stretching into your right calf and Achilles tendon region. Glide forward. Breathe in, glide back. It's a very slow, gently moving stretch into the right calf. Exhale, glide forward. 3 more cycles of breath. Then set your right knee down. Turn out your left thigh at the hip and slide your left shin across your mat in front of your pelvis. Tuck your right toes as you straighten the right leg behind you and lower to sit. With your hands alongside your hips, lift your pelvis and draw your left outer hip back. Rotate your right outer hip forward until your two frontal hip bones are equally facing forward. Remember to place a prop under your left glute if there's a gap between it and the floor. Then relax your right toes. Place your hands in front of your left shin. Inhale, lift your chest and stretch the front of your torso. Breath by breath, start to bow forward. And notice if the side of your hips needs a different configuration of props so that you can really rest into the pose and not feel like you're engaging muscles to hold your body in it. Make any last little adjustments so that you can be still for another 2 minutes. Maybe close the eyes and bring your awareness to balancing your breaths. We're down to about 2 more slow breaths here. Now, as you're ready to, place your hands on the ground and gently begin to rise and step back to your hands and knees. Take a moment and maybe lift your left leg and give it some movement at the hip socket. Then straighten your left leg and tuck the left toes on the floor. With your shoulders over your wrists, lift the sides of the belly and gaze on the ground ahead of your thumbs as you draw the shoulders back. Let's add some gentle movement to stretch the left calf. Inhale, glide back. Exhale, glide forward. Inhale, glide back. Exhale, glide forward. On your own, keep going for 3 more cycles of breath. Let's make our way into child's pose. Bring the inner edges of your feet together to touch. Choose to keep your knees together or separate them as wide apart as you like. And as you lower your pelvis down to your heels, lengthen your torso forward on the ground, or a supported child's pose is to bear hug your long pillow like this, where you're straddling the back end of the pillow. You could also place your forehead on a folded blanket if you want to lie face down, or turn your head in one direction. We're going to be here in supported child's pose for another 2 minutes. So let your body sink in. Invite your awareness to rest on the breath, which is only happening in the present moment. Tune into 2 more last breaths here in Balasana. As you place your hands on the ground, slowly roll your spine upright. And let's slide the legs in front of you, rising to sit. You might opt to sit on your folded blanket. That gives you more ability to sit tall. Preparing for bound angle pose, Baddha Konasana. Bring the soles of your feet together to touch. Splay your bent knees apart and choose how far away or close to your pelvis you set your heels. So experiment. Have the heels close and notice what you're feeling around your hips. And have the heels further away, just as long as the feet stay together touching. And then choose the degree or the distance, and then let's set up to be still in a forward fold for 2 minutes. So again, you could use your pillow like this. You could use a block to rest your forehead on. Set it up high enough so that you're able to lean forward with a generally long, spacious spine, not closing off the breath like this, where you're rounding and tensing the shoulders or the back. So lift through the lower belly, ground the pelvis, relax the shoulders back and down, and keep your throat open, remembering we're hinging from the hips and not hinging from the neck like this. Take your time folding in and adjusting your props as needed, if you need more or less, so that you can completely surrender your torso into the props. And again, I'm going to watch the clock for 2 minutes here. And start to press the ground with your hands and gently lifting from your chest, slowly rise. Stretch your legs out in front of you and sit tall for a few breaths. Dandasana, stick pose. Draw your shoulder head slightly back, stacking them right above the hips. As you draw in your lower belly and slightly lift it up, press down to your sitting bones and lift up through the back of your skull. Let's prepare for Janu Shirshasana. You may want to use a strap here. This is our last couple of forward folds. So step the ball of your left foot into the strap and bring the sole of your right foot high up against your inner left thigh. Hold the strap with two hands, and if you don't have a strap, you can place your hands on the floor, framing your left thigh. Flex your left foot and press the big toe mound of it forward. At the same time, give yourself enough slack in the strap with two hands holding it to be able to draw the shoulders back and down and create a little lift in your chest while sealing in the bottom of your front ribs. Feel both of your sitting bones pressing down as you lengthen up from the base of your spine. Breathe in here, and then exhale, start to hinge forward from the hips, aiming your sternum towards your left pinky toe. Take it breath by breath, root down through the hips. As you breathe in, stretch the lower spine from the pelvis, lengthen through your crown. Keep your throat open, shoulders relaxed, and only continue to fold if you don't begin to round the back. Now, those of you without a strap, you can walk the hands down your left leg, maybe hold on to the inner and outer foot, if that's reachable without strain. Let's listen to about 5 more deep breaths here. Head to knee pose, or Janu Shirshasana. Pressing downward through both hips. Begin to lift your chest. Inhale, slowly rise. And stretch your right leg in front of you. Transfer the strap, if you're using it, to the ball of your right foot. Place the sole of your left foot high up against your inner right thigh. Hold the strap with both hands. Flex your right foot with or without the strap and press the big toe mound of it forward. Ground your 2 sitting bones and lengthen your spine. Relax your shoulders as you breathe in. Keep a slight lift in your chest. Belly firming in. Begin to hinge forward from the hips, aiming your sternum towards your right pinky toe. Breath by breath. Then pressing down to your pelvis, inhale, slowly lead from your chest to rise. Now, balance is important when we're practicing yoga, right? So let's do the opposite of forward folding for a moment and get some opening in the hip flexors, bringing the hips into extension. So grab your 2 blocks and place them along the rear side of your mat and come to lower onto your back. With your 2 knees bent, set your feet on the floor and start with 1 block by the lowest height. Slide it underneath the flat part of your lower back, which is your sacrum, making sure it's not too low towards the bottom of your glutes nor too high towards your rib cage. Make sure it's comfortable and stable. And just notice how this feels here. Now you will have the option of placing a 2nd block above it, also on the lowest height. For those of you that when we come into the posture that we're about to do, you're not feeling much happening, then you can add the 2nd block. So start with the 1st block. Bend your right knee into your chest like we did in the beginning and hold your right thigh or shin. To whatever degree your body is willing, flex your left foot, keep the left heel on the ground, and straighten the left leg on the floor. Not turning out the leg, but rather pointing the left knee straight up towards the ceiling by spinning your inner left thigh slightly towards the ground. Notice any sensations you're feeling, especially along the front of your left hip. Now, if you're not feeling much, this is where you would add a 2nd block, taking it a step deeper. Or you could tilt the 1st block onto the 2nd level. Keep your shoulders on the ground, resting the head down. Let's tune into about 5 more deep breaths. Set your feet on the ground again with your knees bent. Pause here in supported bridge pose for 2 to 3 breaths. As you keep your feet parallel, your thighs parallel, visualize your tailbone lengthening forward towards the space between your knees. So there's an internal action of elongating the lower spine. Now you might start with just 1 block under your lower back as we prepare for side 2 in this supported Apanasana. Bend your left knee into your chest, take hold of your thigh or your shin, where you can ground both shoulders in the head. And slowly begin to straighten your right leg to your degree, flexing the right foot. Spin your inner right thigh slightly towards the ground and press the instep of your right foot forward, hugging the left leg closer. Notice what you're feeling around the front of your right hip. Stay here or tilt the block to the next level height or add a 2nd block. Let's listen to 5 more very slow breaths. Then bending both knees, set your 2 feet on the ground once again. Now this time, optional to keep your knees bent or straighten both legs, flex both feet, and spin both inner thighs slightly downward so you're not turning out the legs. Your feet stay parallel. You could also bring the arms straight down by your sides, really close to your sides, rotating the triceps towards the ground so your palms are face up as the backs of your hands rest on the floor. And tilt your chin slightly back to open your throat. As you press the insteps of your feet forward, if your legs are straight, visualize your tailbone lengthening forward towards the space between your knees, while you seal in the bottom of your front ribs and slightly lift your frontal hip bones towards your lowest front ribs. Let's tune into 5 last breaths here. Set your feet flat on the ground with your knees bent and remove the props from underneath your body. Draw your bent knees into your chest and rock a little side to side to massage your lower back. Making our way towards corpse pose. Part of our meditation today will practice pranayama or mindful breathing. So let's set up for a restful stillness. Stretch your legs out in front of you and let your feet splay apart, wider than your hips distance. You might take a moment to shake out your legs until they can completely relax. Turn the palms up slightly away from your sides and let your shoulders root down, sliding down the back as you lengthen the neck. Closing your eyes, if you have an eye pillow or something to cover your eyes with, that can be helpful to tune inward. Let go of controlling your breathing. Yet continue to rest your awareness on the feeling of your breath, connecting you to the present moment. We'll be here for a few minutes in Shavasana. As you let your body rest here a little longer with your eyes closed, notice how your physical body feels now. Notice what part of your body is ready to move first, very gently, little by little. Begin to move and stretch your body. By keeping your eyes closed, help to practice pratyahara, tuning inward. Gradually turn over onto your right side where you can rest your head for a few moments. Notice the quality of your breathing now. How do you feel energetically? Sense if anything has changed here since you arrived in this practice. Then take your time lifting your body up. Please find a comfortable way to sit for our meditation practice of 5 minutes. You may want to prop your pelvis on a prop, sit in a way that you can feel grounded, alert, open, and relaxed. One of the mudras you might use is stacking the palms face up on the center of your lap with thumb tips touching. And this mudra cultivates a neutral mind or equanimity, evenness of mind. You might choose to also close your eyes or steady a gentle downcast gaze in front of you. As I mentioned earlier, this will start with a mindful breathing. It's called resonant breathing. And then we'll let go of regulating the breath as we continue with meditation. So just breathing through the nose, very gently and slowly. I'll count to 6 as you expand the in-breath, and I'll count to 6 as you exhale through the nose. Here we go. Inhale for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Continue 2 more cycles on your own. And when you finish, let go of controlling your breath and rest your awareness on the feeling of the natural breath. If your awareness leaves the breath, notice that where it's gone, and then kindly re-guide your attention back to the breath as many times as needed. Cultivate a focus that is relaxed, not strained. Notice how you're feeling now mentally and emotionally, sensing the effects of your practice. I invite you to take a moment of gratitude, offering appreciation for anything that comes up for you. Remember to also thank yourself for your dedication to your highest well-being. Remember what your intention was. Maybe say it again to yourself. And then allow a moment to picture to whom you dedicated today's practice, in some way experiencing benefit. And to close, let's join our voices again, chanting Om 3 times, feeling the resonance that you're both giving and receiving. Bow in towards your heart center, recognizing the light within. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste.